The discovery of gold in Zamfara and Niger states of Nigeria brought a ray of hope to its people, but the process of mining the gold also brought deadly consequences. The lead released in the gold mining process is poisonous, especially to children, leading to hundreds of deaths, and thousands more are at risk in what is considered the worst outbreak in modern history. Most northern states of Nigeria, including Zamfara and Niger, are primarily agricultural, supporting a wide variety of dryland crops including millet, maize, rice, cowpeas, groundnut, and so many more. Some market vegetables are also grown during the dry season on low-lying floodplains. Zamfara state contains many areas with significant concentrations of heavy metals in the soil and rocks. There has been gold mining in Zamfara state, northern Nigeria, for decades, but until recently, it was not profitable. The price of gold has appreciated substantially from 2009. This has resulted in a renewed interest in mining in Zamfara and Niger states. An increasing active artisan mining industry digs up rocks by hand, breaks them into pebbles with hammers, grinds the pebbles to sand with floor mills, and extracts gold from the sand using panning and mercury amalgamation. In a bid to reduce high level of poverty in the state, men between ages 16 to 30 took to illegal mining to make ends meet. Nigeria is blessed with many commercial deposits of solid minerals, from tantalite to barite, limestone, bitumen, kaolin, gold and topaz. The quantity of the deposits in more than 500 locations across the country suggests that the solid mineral sector, if well harnessed, will compete with the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. However, most of the mining in Nigeria until now is carried out illegally. Most of the gold deposits in Zamfara and Niger states are being mined illegally. It is usually done by cartels that just show up in these communities and begin to cut away the minerals in collaboration with ignorant and vulnerable communities. Usually, the health problems associated with mining are related to mercury or cyanide use. In Zamfara state, gold-bearing deposits contain unusually problematic concentrations of lead, overwhelmed by the enormous effects of lead poisoning. The root cause of lead poisoning crisis is unsafe mining, otherwise known as illegal mining. Gold mining requires specialized equipment and expertise, but it's being done manually in Zamfara and Niger states, thereby exposing the miners and other residents, especially children, to lead poisoning. Lead poisoning is capable of rendering the children blind, deaf, and sometimes even death. The crushing of pebbles into sand in dry running floor mills produces enormous amount of dust, which in some places is highly contaminated with lead. Lead can enter the body through the lungs or the digestive tract. It contaminates drinking water, dust, soil, and an entire environment. According to the 2010 Nigerian Health Ministry report, 163 Nigerians, mostly children, have died from lead poisoning caused by illegal mining.
Yarana shidda uku sun rasu da son ka rasu inda bakin cikin har rasu su na bakin cikin kowane kadai kuma na ji zafi.
To gaskiya wannan da yake ko da ya kamo shi wannan na baya din gaskiya kusan ba na gida don dai amma abin da suka bayan yana min kusan yadda wancan ya yi na farkon haka wannan shi ma yi.
I enter their houses, I see their children. Out of 10, 5 is sick, lying in the house, taking local medicine. And before you know it, the 5 will not survive.
More than 100% more are lead poisoned and could eventually die if government does not act fast. Illegal mining is a great menace in many of our communities. The environmental implications of illegal mining are quite diverse. The first is that it destroys farmlands and distorts the livelihood of the communities. The trenches dug for these mining activities are abandoned after the mining is over, therefore become death traps and easy entry points for devastating gully erosions. In Zamfara State, for instance, many of these mines are contaminated with impurities. In this case, gold ash was intermingled with deposits of lead. In a few cases, some of the impurities are even radioactive in nature. Ignorant community members therefore go to these mines and come in contact with contaminants. From the death toll of the lead poisoning in Zamfara and Niger states, it was apparent that women and children were the worst hit by the side effects of illegal mining. In an effort to halt the epidemic, the authorities are clamping down on illegal mining and carrying out a cleanup of the affected areas. Illegal mining in the areas were halted and some of the residents were evacuated. Also, sensitization on the health hazards and dangers of illegal mining is being given to local people. Addressing the nation's Professional Mining Association, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, speaks on how the government will curb the menace of illegal mining.
We really need to be able to organize them and ensure that we incentivize them to turn these very, very rudimentary approaches to mining to a much more modern technique that would add value to the sector.
Also speaking, the European Union Ambassador to Nigeria, Michel Ariel, says national revenue will only increase when measures are being taken to curb the menace of illegal mining.
Why should I invest in Nigeria and not in Malaysia? Why in Nigeria and not next door? In I don't know, in Cameroon or in Niger or in South Africa or in Namibia or in Zambia? So you are in competition with your African brothers.
In March 2010, Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, was alerted to a high number of child fatalities in Zamfara State. Estimated 400 children died. Laboratory testing later confirmed a high level of lead in the blood of the surviving children. MSF is a central player in treating lead poisoning in Zamfara State and is responsible to the acute phase of this emergency. It has at the moment controlled mortality, but patients with lead poisoning will require significant long-term treatment and follow-up. Speaking on the menace of lead poisoning, Head of Emergency Desk, MSF, Marcel Lagnabaj, says that the Mortality Service, an analysis of the historic mining activities of about 6 to 7 villages in Zamfara State of Nigeria, have now been identified among the ones with serious contamination of high level of lead poisoning.
now been identified among the ones with serious contamination of high lead levels in the soil. It is not excluded that there are more villages like that. We don't know at this stage. Based on looking at these villages, we would conclude that some 800 to 1,000 children under 5 are still to be treated.
Lagnabach said that 800 to 2,000 children under the age of 5 are still to be treated. On his part, African Affairs analyst Anthony Goldman has this to say on lead poisoning in Nigeria.
What's happened is a tragedy, but the real scandal is the indifference, if you like, from the top, the incompetence matched by the poverty and the ignorance from below. As you say, this is illegal mining, yet people have known for a long time that it goes on, that people in the system benefit from it as individuals. Of course, there's no taxation or anything like that, but people were aware that of this mining going on, and that some people were benefiting from it as individuals. That there hasn't been any genuine investment in a formal sense in mining in Nigeria for 50 years.
Despite various attempts made by the government to regulate small-scale mining sector, 90% of its operators work illegally with no official recognition. NATO report states that between 2007 to 2010, 4 billion naira was lost to illegal mining. Mining is legal business, and interested parties can approach authorities for a license.